Shabbat Shalom to all of the members of our very precious community dedicated to the study of Torah. Risa and I are still sheltering in place here in Santa Monica, even as parts of the United States begin to open, fingers crossed. Sheltering in place is a great term for Jews, isn't it? Because for us, our place in which we're sheltering is Torah. That reminds me of a wonderful midrash that speaks of a fox standing alongside of a river, noticing that the fish were swimming rapidly upstream. They were obviously very troubled. As a matter of fact, they looked quite frightened. When the fox asked, "What's going on here?" the fish told him that there were fishermen with nets and boats coming toward them. So they were fleeing for their lives. The clever fox invited, in fact, urged the fish to leave the river, to follow him to what he assured them was a much nicer, much more secure location. Get out of that water and come along with me. You will be a lot better off. But the fish refused. They told the fox that the water is their life. As hard as life might be at times, it is the water that they know will always sustain them. Bottom line, if they leave the water, they'll die. The Midrash ends by referring to Torah as Mayim Chayim, the living waters of the Jewish people. If we leave that water, we will spiritually die. So, let's keep on sheltering in our Torah place, even as the world around us begins to open up. This is where we belong. One last thought. Yesterday, Friday, was Yom Yerushalayim, celebrating the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967. Unlike all of you, I remember that day vividly. Yom Yerushalayim is in fact a minor holiday now on the Jewish ritual calendar, but only in Israel is it widely observed. There were excellent celebrations and concerts and parties all across the country as Israel began to reopen. Happy Jerusalem Day. Chag Sameach. Okay. Our Sedra is Bamidbar as we begin the fourth book of the Torah, Numbers 1:1 and following. Funny thing about its Hebrew name, Bamidbar. The original name for the fourth book of the Torah apparently was Sefer HaPekudim, literally the book of accounting or numbers, because it both begins and then it ends with a census of the Israelite people, counting. But over time, the now common Hebrew name was taken from the fifth word of the text in Numbers 1:1. The fifth word in there is Bamidbar, because the book contains stories about events that occurred during the 38 years wandering Bamidbar in the desert. What kind of events? It's terrific. It's a great book. A fascinating assortment ranging from the 12 spies sent to check out the land, the rebellion of Korach, the non-Jewish prophet Balaam and his talking donkey, the red heifer, the laws of tzitzit, the priestly benediction, and much, much more. Great book. The name Bamidbar itself cries out for rabbinic elaboration. So Rabbi Google reminds us that there are 4 different kinds of deserts: subtropical deserts, coastal deserts, cold winter deserts, and polar deserts. Not every kind of midbar is the same. And deserts themselves are almost living things, expanding and contracting in response to shifts in the environment and, of course, to the destructive presence of human beings. And no desert is actually empty. There is always some form of life there. Flora, fauna, my favorite, microbes. No matter how might it look, a desert always contains life. So, okay, we have a living desert. But the rabbis then pushed harder. Why was the Torah given in a desert on top of Mount Sinai? Shouldn't it have been given in the middle of downtown Jerusalem? Okay, yeah. There was no downtown Jerusalem at that point. Okay, but you know what I mean. Rabbi Scheiheld reminds us that the rabbis believed that the Torah was intentionally given in a place that belonged to no one. We call that Hefker. Hefker belonged to no one. Torah, the rabbis taught, is meant to be universally available. No nation should ever feel excluded from an invitation to embrace Torah. Kol dichvin yetev yechol. It's written in the Haggadah. Let all who are hungry come and eat. The Torah was never intended to be the sole possession of the Jewish people. On the contrary, Torah becomes the litmus test for all of humanity in a way very similar to the 7 Noahide laws in the book of Genesis. But this warm and very fuzzy universalism is not actually so very simple. There were some, not all, but some of our early teachers who believed that not only was Torah something which all nations would be invited to embrace, but in the eyes of God, all nations must eventually come to embrace Torah, must come to embrace Torah. And in proper Hegelian fashion, there was also a minority pushing back in the exact opposite direction. Listen to this. The great sage Rabbi Yochanan taught that a non-Jew who studies Torah is deserving of death because Torah belongs to the Jews and to no one else. Torah tziva lanu, Moshe. God commanded through Moses, the Torah belongs to the Jewish people, to us, and thus to no one else. Wow. What do we do with this? Which way do we turn? For many Jews, Torah is the ultimate treasure. Of course we are obligated to study and to live Torah. That's what Jews do. But this boon, this unparalleled gift, is not meant to be reserved for Jews alone. Spread the word. The well is open. Drink of the Mayim Chayim. But wait. We are the Am Segula, God's very special select treasure. Torah is the text of the covenant between God and the Jewish people. Period. Sof Pasuk. That's all she wrote. Isaiah wrote, "Turn to me and be saved." But another author within the book of Isaiah wrote, "I have appointed you a covenant people, a light to the nations of the world. Which way is it?" What's it to be? Universalism or particularism? Are we Polonius crying out, "To thine own self be true"? Or are we the prophet Amos reminding the Israelites that God has unique covenantal relationships with all peoples, not just with the Jewish people? Universalism is so very attractive. Have we not all one God? Has not one God created us all? That's beautiful. And besides, won't universalism kind of abolish all conflicts and wars fought in the name of the one true religion? Won't universalism make it easy for us to see that Tselem Demut Elohim, the literal image of God in every other human being? And doesn't particularism promote separation, isolation, arrogance, disdain? But wait, doesn't universalism hasten our being swallowed up, absorbed into majority cultures, losing our distinctiveness? My friends, universalism can easily become a pathway toward unintended national suicide. While on the other hand, particularism will clarify our commitments, focus our studies, strengthen our group and our individual identities, and bring us closer to the God of Sinai. What a challenge. Actually, actively caring about the spiritual and physical well-being of others. Actually, actively caring about the spiritual and physical well-being of our own people. We're all wandering in the desert, Bamidbar. There are no roads. There is no GPS. The path we choose will help determine the kind of individuals and people we will become, and the kind of world within which we will live. We had best choose very, very carefully. Well, that's it for today. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Stay safe. Stay well. I hope good health blesses your families and friends. Choose your roads carefully. And yes, we will be here next week. Shabbat Shalom.